my God, how cute. Hi. I was just doing this. I was just doing this with my chin as before you got
I'm here.
So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I love how you have your merch in the background. Perfect.
I got my merch.
Perfect.
Yes, it says be a badass with a good ass.
I love it. Hello, my faithful followers and friends. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ain't Gonna Be No Stupid. I am here with another former student. These algorithms are crazy. I'm finding you all over the place because of one tag leads to another. So I'm here with Maria McCarthy, who was Maria Zabawa when she was in my classes. And I had you as a freshman, and I think I had you later in life, didn't I? But you've always been such a great student, so unassumingly sweet and kind, but we're going to talk about that too. Some of the conditioning we've been taught to be as females, and sometimes that can be a curse, but you just exhibit such beauty and grace. And I'm so glad to have you here to talk with. Before we get
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. So here, we'll get into our stupid, innocent story. And I will go first because I'm going to pretty much reveal a lot of dirty secrets about my life. The title is Ain't Gonna Jump on Another Diet Bandwagon. And here's some of my silly stories. My innocent story I think about is in the early 90s. I was teaching in California, and for some reason there was this craze with this drink, a powder that you put in your drink. And I had always felt like too thick, and I always felt like I needed to lose weight. And I ended up taking this drink and find out later, I certainly lost weight, and find out later that it was ephedrine in it. And that's the same, it's like was used for asthma treatments, but then people stopped using it for asthma. So they made it a diet pill. And boy, it worked great. But then later I find out it's the same ingredients as crystal meth. And so I'm like, have you ever tried meth? I'm like, technically, I guess I have, because I did that diet supplement, right? But that was one ridiculous, innocent story I had. And then, of course, you gain the weight back when you go off of it.
Of course. I think my stupid story is back, it's probably about 5-10 years ago. I kind of just wanted to drop a couple of pounds here and there, just kind of squeeze into that old dress mentality. And I decided to try the military diet. And like I could try anything for a week or two, right? And literally my lunch was like a little bit of tuna on like a rice cake. So I did it for about maybe 2 or 3 days, dropped those like 2 pounds of water weight, but it was not sustainable. Like you can't live off of tuna and rice cakes. So definitely never doing it, and don't do it.
You just mentioned it. Don't try anything that's not sustainable for life, which I always think about the gym, because I hate the gym and I don't like to exercise in that environment. I can do a lot of things where I'm dancing or I'm walking or not running, but biking by the lake, anything that's fun. But don't try to get me to the gym. It's just not going to work. So that's just another point, is not to the whole sustainability factor. That's a very key point of this program. But let's get into our stupid situationship now. Here's one of mine, another dirty deed. This year, actually, I think of this year as the same. When COVID began, it feels like one big fat year, right? In February of 2020, I was a size 6, fit right into my jeans. And like March of 2020, we went into remote teaching, and I feel like my body, like an alien hit my body. But really, I think what happened is menopause happened at the same time. And I just ballooned up. My legs literally ballooned up. I'm like, something's wrong. And no doctor could give me the answer. And I finally got diagnosed with lymphedema combination. They put a wrap around my right leg for a month. I had to walk in a boot, same thing on my left leg. I had to go every 3 days to Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. And they took 2 liters of liquid out of my right leg just from the wrapping. And then the same thing on my left leg. And they found out now I've got to wear these compression garments for the rest of my life. So then you feel fat because you're wearing these garments underneath your clothes. You got to wear bigger clothes so you can fit the garments. You feel like everyone notices because, and it's just been the bane of my existence. And so I just really have to get to this point where no more diet bandwagons. We're just going to own it. We're just going to be the weight we are and not worry about it. We're so obsessed as females to worry about our weight. So what is your situationship that you're dealing with?
Well, actually, I'm coming to you here from my basement, and during COVID, the basement was my kindergarten classroom.
Oh,
And yes, and the funny part was, during COVID, it's like I got all this time. I can exercise between classes. I can do things, and I did. And I did that for a while, and even like running up and down these stairs, up and down, it was like, okay, I'm getting my exercise in. I could see it on my watch. It's going great. And then by the time like December, January hit, it was really cold down here in this basement. So I moved upstairs under my comfy Christmas tree on my couch. And even though I was still doing some partial workouts, the Christmas cookies start getting in, and you start, none of this happens overnight, right? And over time, it just kind of creeps up on you. All these bad choices and habits that you fall into, they just creep up. And all of a sudden, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person you are. Or maybe you just don't want to look the way, you've become to look. And for a while, I was sustaining that weight or maintaining that weight because, I was doing some exercise and I was doing things, but I wasn't running up and down the stairs anymore. I wasn't walking the dogs around the block anymore because of the snow. And there was other excuses, right? And it was easier to just make cookies every night and, have some family time eating, which is a whole nother thing because of this relationship I've had with food for, my whole life. But I've come to a place where I thought I don't like what I look like. And, by the way, don't ask your spouse what you look like, because your spouse will usually lie and say, you look great. But I think it's because every day they see you and it creeps up. It's every day. And
right.
You look fine, you look great.
Oh.
No, you look wonderful, but the minute you decide yourself, like, I don't necessarily love how I look or how I feel inside is, usually the time to make a change.
Yes. So then let's get into it without being someone who gets on fad diets. We both are guilty of that. What has worked for you?
So I've tried it all. I've tried cutting out all kinds of sugar out of my diet abruptly, like, waking up and, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm starting tomorrow. Or I kind of failed today, so I'll start up again on Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I have a really good friend. His name is Aaron Morris, and we've been friends 20 years plus, and he's done keto diet. So keto is short for, ketogenic. And it's been life-changing to me. And it's more than a diet. It's, it's a lifestyle. And once you begin something like this, and you stay true to it, it's really hard to go back to the bad ways.
Mm-hmm. So keto is mainly high fat, high protein, and low carb.
So high fat, somewhat of protein, and very low carbs. Yeah.
Yeah. So like mainly the most carbs you could probably have is a cup of fruit a day, if that. Yeah.
So even try to stay very low with that. I usually eat about 25 net carbs a day. And a carb is basically, so if say something is 10 carbs, but it has 3 grams of fiber in it, then you're eating 7 net carbs.
Oh, yes.
So the more fiber you eat, it kind of negates those bad carbs.
That makes sense. And you have a macro app or something that you take?
I do have an app. It's called Carb Manager, and you can download it on your phone, and you can actually, put in your goals of what you would like to weigh, or, whatever your goal might be. And it does give you a kind of, a number of where you should weigh.
Do you know people that keto just didn't work for them?
The only time keto doesn't work is if you give up in a couple of days. You got to understand that this is something that is a chemical thing. This isn't a diet. Literally, it changes and reworks your brain. All of a sudden, I wasn't craving that sugar. And I eat pasta every day. I have a 3-year-old who lives on mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, so I thought to myself, okay, but how can I do this? So it's funny because you see like, okay, I'm going to eat 25 net carbs. And I would end up, your brain gets crazy, right? And you start thinking like, I wonder if I could have a tablespoon of this mac and cheese, because you want to suffice this craving.
Yeah.
And what you've been used to kind of eating,
Right.
or I would go and try to buy foods that would mimic kind of like that flavor that I was missing.
Yeah.
So there is, keto bread you can buy. You can make your own keto cookies and stuff. So I would kind of like go out and try to find that kind of stuff. Cause I would, I'd like to eat like a turkey sandwich, right?
Yeah.
But you can't eat the bread anymore, right?
Oh.
Too many carbs. Right. So, but it was interesting because after about 2 3 weeks or so, all of a sudden there was something that happened, and it was this chemical change, and all of a sudden I wasn't craving those carbs. And so I've been doing it since the beginning of March, and it's come to a point now where Jack had his mac and cheese today and I did not have any. You just kind of get used to that.
That is insanity, because I think it's so hard in social setting. I think of being alone, it's easy. But when you go to someone's house or you're in social settings, it's just so hard. Oh, I'm grain free, because I am grain free right now, just because that's what my doctor put me on, and they're putting me on because my sugar is really high. I'm like, I'm not eating sugar, promise. But my blood tests are showing sugar, so that pre-diabetic stuff. So then the nutritionist has me on eating every 3 hours, and that's not easy with teaching, as you know, right? Especially with different bell schedules and masks on our faces. And it's like, what? I can't. I would be one of those people. I liked intermittent fasting. I like not eating. I'd rather just be like gas in the car and then just go about my day, because it's just one more thing to do. This meal planning crap, I can't do it. Chopping up things, putting them a little, it's an ADHD nightmare. So that's just something that it's such a struggle. But at the same time, I know we talked about this earlier. How about getting into your clothes? Like, do you have 5 sizes in your closet as well? And what do you do?
And I've got like my really, really fat clothes and like my really, really skinny clothes from like, I don't know, 20 years ago that I will never fit into, because guess what? I had a baby, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's, yes, the weight I am at right now, yes, it's a healthier and happier weight that I like to be at, but clothes fit different after you have a kid.
Yeah.
That's normal. I'm not 18 anymore. I'm, going to be 35 this year. Like,
wow.
Everything is different. I know.
Wow. It just seems like yesterday, Marie. Oh, this is crazy.
I know, right?
Go ahead.
No, I wanted to say though, the other token is when I was a little bit heavier, I thought to myself, well, I'm not getting rid of these size pants because I'm going to fit into them eventually, which is fine. Definitely keep those things in your closet. But what I was trying to do is squeeze into them. So, I had it zipped up and buttoned up, and the zipper would start creeping down throughout the day. But I was determined to wear these pants because in my head, I thought if I wear these pants, then I'm still a size 4.
Right.
I was not a size 4.
It's true. Just wear what feels good, right? That's too
wear what feels good. Go and even if you have to spend a little extra money, right? If you feel good in it, it's worth it.
That's a good point. Very good point. I was just thinking about the lymphedema, and it's comes onset during puberty, which I did gain weight in high school, my senior year. And then it comes on during pregnancy, hormonal changes. I've never been pregnant, so that never happened. So from weight gain in high school to this now menopause is the other time, is the onset of this fat disorder. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like, oh, but again, what can you do? Like I said before you came on, I was checking my chin, make sure, but I'm just so tired. I can't. Speaking of that, I want to talk about the silliness of, well, first of all, how people judge us based on our weight. And yet, are they really, like, are we really that important that we need to worry about what they think of us? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's something that women struggle with a lot.
Yeah. And, I think that a lot goes to, maybe the way we were raised, and I think different cultural looks on things of physical appearance. And I mean, I've always thought to myself too, like, I get a lot of positive attention when I'm thinner.
Yeah.
Because isn't that true, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so currently I'm down 26 pounds. So if you can imagine, even last March of this year, being whatever I, the weight I was, and then like, oh my God, you did lose a lot of weight. Yeah, and obviously that makes me feel good, right? Because I put in the work, I've put in the effort, I'm not eating, cookies, like whatever, right? So that makes me feel good, obviously. But why can't I also feel good when I'm a little heavier, when I'm a
Exactly.
little more stressed out and maybe
Yeah.
overeating, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, when I'm thinner, I feel better inside too. My knees hurt less.
Mhm.
I'm only 5'1", right? Like I
Wow.
shouldn't have weighed what I weigh. But I think that goes back to, well, why did that happen? Well, yeah, laziness set in, but there was no consistency there either.
Right. Right. And you know what else? You just mentioned stress, cortisol, the hormone. It is the stress hormone. So if you are trying to lose weight and you're stressed out, which includes highly intensive exercise, can also make you hoard fat. You don't want to over exercise, and yet you better get your cortisol levels down. But that doesn't happen overnight either. You really need to balance. You need to deal with stress, and then you're going to melt off the weight, is my point of view. I used to say, I'm going to sleep my way to sexy, which just meant a lot of more sleep, and your body is going to restore itself, and it worked. Obviously, I'm not sleeping as much anymore because we're back in school. But I'm really on that balanced mission again too, right?
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, you need to put in that effort daily, right? You can't just, it's beauty sleep, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just going to wake up and it's not Amazon Prime. I like
Right.
to say that, like, when I first started keto, I'm like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is going to work for me. And, 2 weeks in, I told my husband, like, I only lost 4 pounds,
That's a
and he's like,
lot.
well, that's great, but that's great. That's great. But I've known other people to lose very quickly on keto. It just didn't work for me, right? But over time I did. But I was like, why isn't this working? Why is it? It's not Amazon Prime. I'm
That's
not going to
good.
get it in 2 days.
That's good.
That's not life. That's not realistic.
Do you also then pee on a stick to find out if you're in ketosis?
I used to in the very beginning. I used to. Now I can just kind of tell. Like it's come to a point where, say, if I do eat something that has too much sugar, carbs in it, I can feel that keto flu, they call it. So the next day I'm like, oh, like almost like that hungover feeling, like in the clouds, just like, why am I so worn out? Like I slept, whatever. And that's that keto flu.
Wow.
Mhm. And it usually,
Oh,
like now that I've been in ketosis for a while, it usually goes away pretty quickly, but you will experience that, yes.
oh man. I don't know if I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. But again, I'm not
You
going to
can
jump
do
on,
it.
not going to jump on these fad diets. But you say it's a lifestyle,
That's
it's not
right.
a diet, right?
It's
Let
a
me,
lifestyle. It's been around for such a long time. It used to
yeah.
be used for people who had diabetes in order to control their carb intake.
Wow. Interesting. I might have to look into that more.
You should.
Let me read some of these silly fad diets when I was looking at the from back in the 1960s and 70s. And you said
Okay.
you've already done one of these. That's hilarious. The first one is Metrocal, satisfying food for weight control, a chalky protein powder from the 1959s, and it was 225 calories, and you had to drink 4 shakes a day. Can you imagine what that tasted like? And then they had Sago.
Fuck.
Yeah. Sago 1963 was a diet drink and it filled the shelves. But then the next one, the Carnation Slender, said that they found out that people were using it as a meal replacement, even though they didn't advertise it that. And then they started calling it Slender. And then they created a diet candy, which was funny back then. I remember that was popular back then too. But this one kind of makes me laugh. You ever watch Mad Men?
Yeah.
Don Draper, they call it the drinking man's diet. So that's just pretty much drink alcohol all day and then you'll lose weight. And I think I know people that actually do this. The diet pills of the 1968 replaced the drinks. And of course, we are guilty of being on Instagram and seeing that dumb ad pop up because they hear us talking. Like right now, I wish my phone should be off right now because they're hearing this conversation.
Yeah, they're
and I'm going
listening.
to get a ton of ads. And I keep getting like texts, stuff. I still get texts that say about weight loss from some random number, as heard on Shark Tank, da 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 da. and you can't even block the number. I'm like, how am I getting these things? It's just so maddening.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that just shows like your self-loathing that you have when you're feeling fat. And then you got to stop that inner monologue, right? You just have to stop that inner, like you said, keto changes your brain. I think our thoughts also change our brain, right? But all those years, yeah, all those years of conditioning. And then there's the Stillman diet that had spices and condiments. That spices and replaced the condiments, right? Wasn't it more like spice instead of like dressings and things?
Yeah, instead of like ketchup, you could put some like paprika on it. But I mean, it has no like health benefit to it.
Right, right. Oh, and so people take paprika pills, don't they? Oh no, that's cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. And then there's the sexy pineapple diet, of course, from Denmark, 1968. And this promised to be slim and erogenic. That's just another nice way of saying more sexual. And they have a woman on the cover. The way she's eating the pineapple is suggesting sex. That makes
me yes.
And that's another thing.
She's licking the pineapple.
Yeah, yeah. And they're marketing all of these diets to go with being more erogenic. And it's like, okay, but we subconsciously pick this up, and it goes back to like childhood stuff. Like you're watching this as a child all throughout your lifetime and believing these lies, right? Three more. The grapefruit diet. I think I might have tried something to this effect once. It's 1930s. It was called the Hollywood diet. You take a slice of grapefruit at every meal. And of course, those citrus enzymes will help you burn fat, which later they called it the 10 pounds off diet, the 10-day, 10 pounds off diet, which again, you go back to your old way of eating and it goes right back, right?
Right. And I mean, really, realistically, you're probably just losing that water weight, you know, without really losing the fat.
Exactly. The key is getting the fat, right?
Right.
And feed fat with fat, like you're doing with keto, correct?
Absolutely. The more fat I eat, the more I lose. So I think a lot of people think of diet like I got to eat like, I don't know, 1,000 calories a day. And that's not necessarily true. I probably eat anywhere from 15 to 1,800 a day.
And they say sometimes if you don't eat enough calories, you're going to hoard fat because your body feels like it's starving and it's fighting lions and it has to preserve itself, right?
Right. And it stores those carbs.
Yeah. Oh. And the last two, the Israeli army diet. The only reason I think they called it that is they said it might be related to the 6-day war because it has nothing to do with Israeli anything. And it says day 1, you eat, you just eat 1 and 2, you only eat apples for 2 days. And then day 3 and 4, you only eat cheese. And day 5 and 6, you eat chicken. It looks like children. And day 6, the last day, you eat salad. Now, I've done cleanses before that were almost insanely like this. And I'm looking back on it and I'm like, what a waste of my life and what a waste of money, right?
And really, you're just eating sugar because if you think about apples probably have about 20 carbs, like a medium apple, which all comes into sugar anyway. So you were just consuming sugar. So you're kind of like high on this sugar, like I don't need to eat anything, but it's not sustainable. That's like when you lay down in bed at night and you think about your whole day and you're like, I'm really freaking hungry right now because you didn't eat anything.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. My nutritionist says, make sure you don't eat any carbs without a fat or a carb without a protein. It's got to be one or the other. Never eat carbs alone. And you just kind of,
right. Because then those carbs stay in you.
Yeah, that's good. And the last chance diet is the last one on the list. 1976, Robert Lind liquid protein drink was allegedly had slaughterhouse leftovers like bones and hooves in them. People died of it. And I think he was the doctor that was murdered later. So yeah, I mean, that's insane. I'll put the link of that one in the notes if you'd like. But I think you mentioned too, we were talking, there was a fat-free epidemic, the fat-free craze, and it led to a whole obesity epidemic. Do you want to address some of that?
Definitely. Yeah, there was it was in the 90s, and big names like Snackwells, which is basically Nabisco. There was this craze of let's eat fat-free. We don't, fat's fat-free. Let's eat fat-free. So, they would advertise these fat-free snacks like the cookies, and there was like little devil's cake, stuff like that. And yeah, there was no fat, but it was loaded with like 30, 40 carbs per serving. So eventually it led to this like obese epidemic, later on in the 90s and 2000s, because people were like, well, I'm fat free. Yeah, but you're eating all
So
this other
bad.
crap.
Yeah, such a lie. And even to this day,
Mhm.
people think that. They believe
Yes,
in that.
because you're right. Like it came in, we listened to it, we saw, and this was before, social media, but there was no Facebook,
Right, right, right.
it was on TV, and it was like big companies and news were like, oh, fat free, it's the way to go. But it necessarily wasn't that at
Well,
all.
that's a tip we need to learn, like how to have discernment with advertising hype and to know that to not believe those lies. And I hope we can make people think about that today too. Another lie I wanted to think about kind of relates because of who you were and who I was. And it's being nice. And it kind of goes along with like this whole diet thing where we're trying to be like these women that we're supposed to expected to be, when really it's not about being nice, it's about being real. Because I think being nice subjects you to all kinds of abuse and getting taken advantage of. And I've just recently been learning that through this book, which I've always kind of fought this whole phrase, be nice, be kind. No, be real. I mean, don't be mean, don't be a jerk.
Right.
But there's something to be said for how we've been conditioned as women to be pretty and thin and accommodating and nice. And then even in our professions, we get bulldozed, because we just have to do all the work and we will do it perfectly. And yeah, we'll do it with a smile on our face. And I think that's so unhealthy. And that kind of comes, I think, with the self-loathing then too. And then the stress levels. And it's like, wait a minute, balance.
Right. Like we'll do it well, and we'll do, many things. We can multitask, and we're these like superheroes, when in all reality, there's so much more to us. Like, yes, I've lost this weight personally and I've done these things, but I'm so much more than that.
Yes.
I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm
Yes.
a dog mom,
I
I'm a
love it.
crafter, I'm a bowler, like I'm all
I
these
love it.
things, right? So
And a kindergarten
that's a
teacher.
small part. And I'm a kindergarten teacher, right? It's
It's
just
like you are
such
super.
small part.
That's a superwoman. Well, let's segue into your craft. I want to hear about your side hustle and what you have there behind you.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the running joke in my family was always like, I'm not artistic and I can't, do these things. And that's just how it was. My sister was very artistically inclined. Actually, she's a graphic designer, and my mom can paint. And, I did some singing, I did some small theater acting, things like that. But like, I can never like put things together, actually make something. And eventually, my husband, who is such a great supporter of anything that I try,
Oh, I love it.
bought me one of those Cricut machines. And at first I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is like, but he kind of helped me hone in what I was good at. And I ended up making these like outdoor signs. I paint my wood, and then I make my little designs. So I
So
also,
you also make custom designs. If I have a phrase that I want, you would make it.
yes, like for example, support day drinking. This is my little koozie here.
It's your
And I
koozie.
also make t-shirts. This is my Be a Badass with a Good Ass t-shirt.
Nice.
So I can
That's
customize anything. And it's something that I enjoy. So when coming up with, so my sister's a graphic designer. So when coming up with like my little logo, or she's like, you need a website, you need to, do this and this and that. Like, what do you want your website domain to be? Like, I don't know. And she's like, it should be like Maria Can Craft.
I
Like,
get
let's
it now.
actually do something. So it is, it's mariacancraft.com.
So let's end our program, if you can, with a 3, 2, 1. We have 3 healthy habits. We're going to tag team these. And then, or 3 things to stay healthy, 2 habits, and 1 final piece of advice. So if you want to start with a habit or 2 to stay healthy.
Yeah, so I think my first, and this is, I go with this is like my daily mantra, is accountability. I think it's really important to at least have that 1 or 2 people that are on your side and kind of helping you along. Do they have to, my husband does not practice keto with me, neither does my son, and I don't expect them to, but are they there for me if, they're eating chicken nuggets? Like, yeah, they know mom's not going to eat that. So,
Good.
Having that person support you is really important. And like I said, my friend Aaron, who's been doing keto forever, he was my accountability. So, I would screenshot him the app every day of like my macros of how many carbs I was eating, how much protein, how much fat, And he would say, okay, good day. Or he's like, more fat, eat more fat, you know? And I knew too, it came to a point where like, I can't eat this granola bar because I have to tell him that I eat this granola bar because he's going to say like,
Yes.
why do you have so many carbs on here? You know? And then I had to be truthful and say like, "Oh, I messed up. I had this granola
Good.
bar." So I think that itself, be accountable and be aware of what you're putting into your body daily.
I love that. I have one here that you need to sleep. I mentioned this earlier. I'm not doing enough of it now, but if you feel tired, please nosedive into bed early, and then you're going to wake up so refreshed and your body's going to thank you. And I really believe if you're into weight loss, I think sleep and controlling the cortisol hormone is your number one best friend. So that's number two for me. Do you have another one? Otherwise, I have another one.
Yeah, I would say with that. So depending, you know, when you go to bed, but usually I like to play my 6, 7 p.m. rule. Don't eat after 7 p.m. Like if you really truly want to lose that weight, you know, don't eat late at night, because even when you're sleeping, like, yeah, you're not sleeping, you know, you're not eating in your sleep, right? But your body's still burning. And if you eat those, for me, carbs in late evening, then my body's still like got those in there, you know.
Good advice.
And to go with that, watch what you put on your plate. So I've always liked to make my plate colorful. So,
Perfect.
you know, not the browns, right? Like lots of veggies, lots of fruits, you know, keep your body healthy so it works for you.
I love that. That's kind of a healthy habit that gets along. Keep color on your plate at all times. And I would say another habit, it's kind of like an anti-habit, but stay away from sugar and preservatives or high fructose corn syrup. Anything that's in a box or prepackaged, right?
Right. Nothing like that is ever too healthy for you.
I know. And then if you want to hear a good source, watch Super Size Me, right?
For sure.
And then the final piece of advice for us.
My final piece of advice is to be good to yourself. You know, yeah, you might mess up and you might cheat a little bit. No matter what diet or what lifestyle you choose to do, you might mess up. But just because you mess up that one meal doesn't mean the rest of the day is shot. You know, you can still recover. You can still make better choices for the rest of the day. Be good to yourself.
Oh, be good to yourself is the best way to end this. Maria, it's been such a blessing talking to you. I just feel like I want you to be my accountability buddy, and we talk more often. This has been a blessing. So I appreciate you so much for taking the time to be on the Ain't Gonna Be No Stupid podcast. And we will find
Thank you so much.
We will find you at Maria Ken Craft. Is there any social media you want to share?
No, just mostly my website, and you can reach me directly there, or mariacancraft@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been such a good time. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye, Maria.